Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the This Is Gonna Hurt podcast with Jay Gordon Duncan. And if you're wondering why the J, the answer is I'm not a bagpipe player. And if that joke doesn't make any sense, I encourage you to check out episode 0, where I explain that joke, as well as the purpose of the This Is Gonna Hurt podcast, where we talk about faith, family, fitness, finances, and sometimes fun. Well, hello, friends. How are you guys? I am doing great. It's a Saturday morning. I'm on my normal cycle of recording podcasts. Just finished my last 20 miler for the marathon training cycle. I'm thankful. That means I'm at week 14, 2 weeks away from the marathon, and I'm healthy and incredibly thankful. Whenever you get that last 20 miler under your belt, you get to do what's called tapering, which is where you just sort of back off a little bit, let your body heal so you can hit the marathon just fresh and ready to go. So I'm in a good mood, very thankful for that. Thank you also, good mood for you guys listening to the last podcast and commenting and responding to it. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. This is going to be a very different episode. I've never done an episode like this. Well, a year ago, I had ChatGPT write an episode for me. And then I read it and I thought, well, that's pretty interesting. But I heard a podcast do something a little different, and I decided to experiment a little bit. On Saturday mornings on my long run, I listened to a podcast called the Shout It Out Loudcast, and they were celebrating their 300th episode, excuse me. And they decided at the end to ask ChatGPT to analyze their podcast. Now, this is a top 1% podcast in the world. This is going to hurt. It's a top 10 podcast. There's a big difference between 1 and 10 when you look at the numbers. But Chat did an analysis of the podcast. I thought, well, that's interesting. I should do that. And then yesterday, I heard someone use ChatGPT to roast them in a Bill Burr type style. And I thought, well, how could they do that? So I experimented a little bit, and I asked ChatGPT, ask AI to analyze the podcast. The AI is going to be honest, and I'll tell you what the prompt was. And then when I got done, I asked ChatGPT to roast me. So I thought, in roast podcast, I was like, well, so here I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to share with you. This is what artificial intelligence, this is what ChatGPT has analyzed about this podcast, because sometimes you wonder, well, what do people really think? And whereas AI is not people, it's technically should be an objective analysis of the show. And then the roast was pretty funny. I'll be honest with you. So first of all, let me share with you what I typed in. I asked Chat this. I said, give me an analysis of the podcast. This is going to hurt, the podcast of Jay Gordon Duncan. Tell me what the show is about. Describe the host, a progression of how the show has changed since it began, and what its listeners think about it. So that's what I'm operating on. That was the premise. So Chad said this. It said, the podcast, This Is Gonna Hurt, brings a mix of inspirational and practical advice on personal growth. Hosted by Jay Gordon Duncan, each episode revolves around pushing through various life challenges with topics covering faith, family, fitness, finances, and occasional lighter segments. The show is grounded in Duncan's perspective, offering an approachable, often motivational tone. Really happy that that's the impression. I wonder why it said faith, family, fitness, finances, and occasional lighter segments. Maybe Chat does not think that my fun segments are lighter segments. But I do love that. This is a personal growth podcast. It is intended to be inspiring, and it's grounded in my perspective, very much so. I do interviews, but most of the time it's really my perspective on things. So this is what Chat thinks about me, about the host. Jay Gordon Duncan brings a unique blend of experiences to the podcast, drawing from his roles in business, personal development, and his background in ministry and coaching. His approach is relatable yet insightful, helping listeners navigate the barriers they encounter in everyday life with a positive mindset. His energy and clarity make complex topics accessible, inviting listeners into thought-provoking conversations that don't shy away from life's challenges. That's encouraging to me, that the computers of the internet can analyze all of our shows, which, by the way, this took seconds. We have 500 and some episodes out there. This showed me the computing power of Chat. that I can ask it to analyze my show. And guys, I have 530 some episodes out there, and it described me, my background. But what I was most encouraged about is his energy and clarity make complex topics accessible, inviting listeners into thought-provoking conversations that don't shy away from life's challenges. So good to hear that, because again, I'm not friends with ChatGPT. I don't pay OpenAI any money. This is the analysis of the things out there. So encouraged by that. The reason I ask it to give an evolution of the show is because back in the day, I used to share like the audio of my sermons. I used to put out a Wednesday episode, which was just the pure audio of my sermons. I haven't done that in 4 years. So I just wondered, well, what's AI's impression of the progression of the show? How has it changed? So this is what it said. Since its inception, This Is Gonna Hurt has likely evolved. I thought it was interesting. Has likely evolved both in format and content focus. Early episodes focused on single topic discussions, laying a foundation for Duncan's philosophy and goals for the show. Over time, the podcast has introduced more structured segments, guest interviews, or themed series, which add variety and depth to the content. As the audience has grown, Duncan has responded by tailoring episodes more closely to their needs, adding episodes dedicated to specific listener questions or feedback. That's interesting. I don't know. I mean, I've only done a couple of listener feedback episodes ever, but I know in the show I will say a lot, hey, I was speaking or I was talking to. So I guess in the analysis of things, that's where they found that. But yeah, on that, I was like, I didn't initially respond to thinking the show tailors to feedback, but very interesting. Not a bad analysis, just not what I would have thought. Listener feedback and appeal. I wondered what this would be, because I mean, I don't have a ton of reviews, even after 507 some episodes. But OpenAI also analyzes what's said on social media, so it would take in the feedback of what people have said on Facebook and other platforms. So listeners appreciate the authenticity and actionable advice the show provides. I hope that's the case. Reviews highlight Duncan's sincerity and the show's motivational impact, emphasizing how his personal approach encourages listeners to face and overcome their own challenges. The diverse range of topics, covering everything from spirituality to financial advice, resonates with a broad audience. Fans value Duncan's ability to bring a fresh perspective to well-worn themes, making the show a trusted resource for anyone looking to grow, improve, and face life's hurdles head on. So when I saw that last sentence, brings a fresh perspective to well-worn themes, I thought, okay, chat thinks I cover the same topics over and over and over again. And you know what? There are times I do. I've done how to start a podcast at least 4 times. I've done brain health over and over again. So I guess well-worn themes would make sense. But it looks like the analysis of the reviews have been I'm sincere and I'm motivational, and I help people face their challenges. So very, very encouraged by that. So when I read that, I'm like, okay, technically objective artificial intelligence has given me a decent view of what my show's perspective is. I'm pretty happy with that. Now I just got to live up to that. But then I thought, okay, I can see hidden in there some areas where if I ask OpenAI to roast me, I'm going to get busted up, and I'm going to need a sense of humor. And when you watch those roasts on Comedy Channel or on TikTok or on Netflix, every now and then you wonder, what would people say about you? And I've wondered that. Probably not. I don't know anyone who would roast me, and I don't know if I'm brave enough to be roasted. But that's what I did next. I said, all right. And a roast is just someone making fun of you, but in a way that really it's hard. It's not disrespectful. It's playful. So Bill Burr is one of the toughest comedians not necessarily a roaster, but I thought I should see if what OpenAI would do. So I said Bill Burr style roast for Jay Gordon Duncan, with at least 5 jokes. So if a comedian was going to make fun of me, and I'd make no claims to be a comedian. So these are the 5 roasts or 5 jokes about me in the podcast. One, oh, this is going to hurt, huh? Well, Gordon, it already hurts. Just look at how many episodes you've done on overcoming barriers. You've been doing this for years, and guess what? You're still talking about getting over the same obstacles. How many barriers does one guy have, huh? What's next? An episode on the spiritual endurance test of getting through your own podcast? Not bad. Yeah, yeah. I need to do an episode on getting over my own episodes. Not bad. Lighthearted, not mean. Number 2, every episode he's like, today we're talking about faith, family, fitness, and finances. You know what, Gordon? Pick a lane. You're either out here saving souls, bench pressing, or giving budgeting tips. What are you, an inspirational octopus? How many hands does this guy have in different pots? Appreciate that. I like inspirational octopus. That's not bad. 3, he's out here like, let me teach you about finances. Buddy, you're giving out budgeting advice on a podcast that's got like 3 sponsors. Who are you, Dave Ramsey on a budget himself? What's next? How to stretch $1 like you stretch a sermon? That is my favorite roast. How to stretch $1 like you stretch a sermon. Well done. I'm laughing at myself. All right, number 4. The name of the podcast is This Is Gonna Hurt, which, let's be honest, sounds like what he tells himself every time he checks his listener numbers. It's like, this episode's gonna crush it. Check stats. Oh yeah, there's the hurt. Yes, I don't have a ton of followers. That wonderful. And then finally, the 5th roast is this. He says he talks about faith, family, fitness, and sometimes fun. Sometimes fun? Come on, man. That's like saying I'll get around to laughing when I'm done solving all the world's problems. Like, yeah, we'll squeeze in a giggle after we solve the mysteries of the universe, right? All right, well done. I don't talk about as fun as much. That's why I say sometimes. I think my 2 favorite takeaways from the roast are, what are you, an inspirational octopus? And then what's next? How to stretch $1 like you stretch a sermon. And then, yeah, what hurts really is my listener numbers. So all in all, it's been fun to let OpenAI and chat analyze the show and give me a good roasting. So not too bad. I didn't type in just what it would do for me. I don't know if you even find me individually. I don't have that much of a platform, but I figured I could do it with the podcast. So a lot of fun. One of these days, I'm going to interview myself on OpenAI chat and see what happens. But I thought this would be a light, playful episode. So I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for listening, guys, and I can't wait to see you again until next week. See you later.